Namaskar friends, welcome to the class of UGC Psychology. This class is useful if you are preparing for the state eligibility test like West Bengal WSAT or Kerala KTAT, Maharashtra MHSAT or Gujarat GTAT or any other SATs. So this exam is useful for any exam, for lecturer or for state eligibility test or for national eligibility test if you are going to give the exam from psychology as the subject. If you want to study the full course with me, the psychology paper second is available with me as well as the paper first. The general paper is also available with me. If you want to study the psychology paper second, course is available with the 85% discount, that is of the 6500. For general paper, the course is available for with the 79% of 4500, and if you want to have the combo is available with the 49,000 price of 81% off with the 9,000 price tag. So you can So let us start the questions for the today class. So the first question is, which of the following refer to the chakras of Kundalini? So here we are talking about the Yoga Sutra. We are talking about the Yoga Sutra, and in the Yoga Sutra we are talking about the chakras. Now let us discuss this question. So there are the 7 chakras of Kundalini in the Sankhya Yoga. In the Sankhya Yoga, there are 7 chakras. There are 7 chakras. The first one is the Mooladhara chakra. That is at the end of the spine. It is at the end of the spine. So first one is correct. The first one is correct. Then the second one is Swadhisthana. Swadhisthana. Here it has been given Swadhishan. Swadhishan. So it is not correct. Swadhishan is not correct. It is situated at the sacral point, that is around 1 inch up the spine, 1 inch up the Mooladhara chakra. Third one is the Manipura chakra. Manipura chakra. Third one is the Manipura chakra, and Manipura chakra is located behind the navel. It is the solar plexus chakra and it is located behind the navel. Then comes the fourth one, and that is the Anahata chakra. Fourth one is the Anahata chakra, that is the heart chakra. That is the heart chakra that is located between both of the bronchi. Between both of the bronchi. So fourth one is the middle of the chest, that is middle of the chest. Then fifth one is the Visuddha chakra. Fifth one is the Visuddha chakra. And it is the Kantha chakra. So it is located in the throat. It is located in the throat. Then comes the Ajna chakra. The sixth one is the Ajna chakra. And that is called the third eye chakra. It is called the third eye chakra. And it is on the forehead, between both eyebrows. It is between both eyebrows on the forehead. And last one is the Sat Sahasra chakra. That is on the crown of our head, where according to Hinduism the crown here is being situated. And when we talk about these two things, Annamaya chakra and Swadhisthana chakra, they are the part of developmental chakra of the Panchakosha theory. The Panchakosha theory of development it is the 5 layers of sheets of development, and in this theory we will see the Annamaya chakra, Swadhisthana chakra. So they are the part of another theory. So if we have to see which of the following refer to the chakras of Kundalini, what we see, the correct answer will be the A and the B. So answer will be the first one. Answer will be the first one. Now let us move on to the next question. In the peripheral nervous system, dash supports axons and produce myelin. In the peripheral nervous system, dash supports axons and produce myelin. Absolutely correct. We are talking about the peripheral nervous system, that is the PNS. We are talking about the PNS. In the PNS, peripheral nervous system, what cells produces the myelin? So when we see the Schwann cells within the PNS, within the peripheral nervous system, they produces the myelin within the PNS and supports the axons Similarly, if we want to see, or we want to say that what produces myelin in the central nervous system. So if we want to see the central nervous system, in central nervous system, oligodendrocytes, these cells produces the myelin sheath. And what is central nervous system? So central nervous system, it includes brain and spinal cord. So the question can also be asked as, in the nervous system, in the bodily nervous system, or within the brain, or within the spinal cord, which cells produces the myelin sheath? So the answers will remain the same. In the body cells, like if we are talking about the hand or the foot or the abdomen, the Schwann cells produces myelin sheath. Whereas if we are talking about the question is being asked in the brain or in the spinal cord, then we will answer that the oligodendrocytes will produces the myelin sheath, or in the spinal cord, oligodendrocytes produces the myelin sheath. Let us see the next question. The interpretation we place on an act in term of differing degree of abstraction is known as. In the different degree of abstraction is known as. So let us discuss the answer. When we are talking about the interpretation on any act in terms of degrees of abstraction, so now we have to interpret the behavior. So they are the cases of interpretation of the behavior. Like we can identify the behavior with the correspondence bias, or we can identify the behavior with the action identification, what kind of action is being conducted within the behavior, or we can identify our own behavior through the self-presentation, or we can identify our behavior through the non-common effect. They are the various techniques or processes to identify any kind of behavior. Here we are interpreting the behavior through the act of different degrees of abstraction. This phenomena is called action identification. We identify the act according to various degrees of abstraction and then interpret the behavior on the basis of that. We will interpret the behavior on the basis of various degrees of abstraction of the act which is being conducted within the behavior. This phenomena is called action identification. Now what is correspondence bias? When we interpret the character of any individual based on any behavior.
So we have a short period of interaction with any individual, and during that period, whatever behavior the individual is showing, we will assume or interpret the character of that individual on the basis of that only incident. This kind of phenomena of identifying the character or interpreting the character on the basis of short period of behavior is called correspondence bias. Similarly, self-presentation, it is our presentation so that we can show certain kind of behavior to certain individual. Like if we are quoting somebody, we will show our best side to him or her, or if we are going to give the interview, we will show our professional side, professional self to the professional side, professional qualities to the interviewer. This kind of behavior where you will represent your strengths to showcase yourself in front of others, that is called self-presentation. And then the non-common effect. What is the non-common effect? Law of non-common effect. We will analyze various options available for behavior. We will analyze various behavior, and then we will compare the pro and cons of those actions. We will have the pro and cons of those actions, and then we will take up the behavior to showcase or to express which we will think is the best in the case. This phenomena is called non-common effect when we compare the various alternative behaviors for any situation. When we compare the alternative behaviors for any situation. So self-presentation is representing yourself in terms of various acts. Whereas when we are talking about the non-common effect, that is choosing out of alternative options in action or behavior. So these are the four phenomena. Answer is being second. Let us move on to the next question. Which of the following ingratiation techniques based on friendship or liking work effectively for compliance? Choose the most appropriate answer from the options given below. Low ball procedure, deadline technique, flattery, self-promotion, and lure effect. So first of all, these all techniques are ingratiation techniques. They all are the ingratiation techniques. In the ingratiation techniques, what we do? We try to persuade or comply or confirm with our various social effects. They all are the social influences. Whenever we are doing the ingratiation techniques, we are actually having a social influence for various kind of work or functioning. So here the ingratiation technique is being asked in this question effectively for compliance. For compliance. That is following the order. Following a order. It is actually legal base. When we say that compliance, so compliance or we are giving order. So rules and regulations that should be compliant. various kind of orders that should be compliant. So an individual, whether being compliant or not, so what are the basis for the compliance? So first one is the low ball technique. Low ball technique. So when we talk about the low ball technique is a persuasion. It is a persuasion technique. Where first what we will do? We will initiate with a small request. We will initiate with a small request and then we move on towards the large or gross request. Then it is called a low ball procedure. We start with low ball and then move on towards the larger one, larger demand. So we start with a small demand and move on towards the large or gross demand, then it is called the low ball procedure. So this is a persuasion technique. Then we are talking about the deadline. So deadline is a compliance technique where we provide with the deadline to follow our instructions or order. To comply with our instructions or order. Like in the income tax rules and regulations, we give a deadline that by 31st July you have to file your income tax return, or we will impose penalty on you. So the government have the compliance of the income tax provisions through this deadline technique. And if some people still don't have filed the income tax return, they will just say, oh, we have just given you opportunity. This is the last chance. You can have the 15 days grace period where you can compile with zero penalty. But after that, we will definitely impose the penalty and penalty will increase. So what happens? Or we have certain kind of pardon schemes, like if you have not filed for the house tax, you can file the house tax of the previous years with the discount or with the penalty of. So this kind of things are deadline techniques where we provide a certain deadline of certain days, certain hours to comply by the instructions or the order. Then comes the flattery. Flattery, whenever we are talking about the flattery is a technique of excessive and insincere praise. Flattery is a technique of excessive and insincere praise. So deadline is the technique for compliance. But whenever we are talking about the flattery, it has the two ways. When we are talking about the leading a group, the flattery can be used for the compliance within the group. When we are leading the group, flattery can achieve the compliance within the group. We will do the flattery, oh, you all are so great, let us complete this work. Let us do this together. So we are using the flattery, we are praising everybody of the group so that we can do the functioning together. And we can achieve the compliance within our command. So leadership charisma, individual having the leadership charisma, they can use the flattery technique to motivate the group or the team. But this technique can also be used for the persuasion. So when we are seeing in the hierarchical situation, it is a technique used for persuasion. So an individual which is low in hierarchy, which is low in hierarchy. Like you, if you want to have some work from the from some minister or from some officer, you can use the flattery technique. Oh sir, you are so great, and you can do this work, please do this work. So whenever we are flattering the officer or flattering the minister or any kind of the individual who can do our certain work, we will use the flattery. We will praise him or her, we will praise the chair, we will praise the person and have our work done. So it can also be used within the hierarchy for persuasion, and it is also can be used within the group for compliance. So this is also correct, because flattery can be used for the compliance. Then the self-promotion. Self-promotion is a kind of persuasion technique when we want to represent ourselves, when we want to promote ourselves for certain kind of sale, for certain kind of success, for certain kind of various things where we want to promote ourselves. So self-promotion is a kind of persuasion where we want to present ourselves for doing some kind of work or for allowing that the individual should listen to us. There we will self-promote us. Lure effect is also a negative way of compliance where we use bait and switch. It is a persuasion technique where we use bait and switch for persuasion. Like if we are catching a fish, we will use a bait within the hook, and when the fish catches the bait, it got entangled in the hook and we can catch it. That is the bait and switch for persuasion. That is the lure effect. So the answer in this question will be second one, B and C only. Let us see the next question. Match the following. There is the conditioning options: forward conditioning, trace conditioning, simultaneous conditioning and backward conditioning, and the way of presenting this conditioning. What will the answer? So here we are seeing the temporal sequences of Pavlovian classical conditioning experiment. Of dog, bell and food. So we have seen the classical conditioning theory is being given by Pavlov, which the Pavlov has done a experiment on the dog, and for which we have seen that the Pavlov has got the Nobel Prize for the digestion studies of the dog. So here we see there is the temporal sequences of two temporal sequences are there. First one is the forward conditioning, and it has three conditions. First one is the forward conditioning. Forward conditioning means the bell and the food, where second one is the backward conditioning, that is first food is presented, then bell is presented. So backward conditioning is first food and then bell, that is food is presented first and followed by CS, that is backward conditioning. And when we talk about the forward conditioning, bell and food, bell should be initially presented, not the food. food first then bell, then it is backward conditioning. So it is of three types. First one is the forward conditioning, or it is also called the delayed conditioning. It is also called the delayed conditioning, where when bell is ringing, it is being followed by the food, which is the experiment by the Pavlov. It is the case of Pavlov theory. Now Pavlov has studied three more conditions, two more forward conditioning to compare this case, with the various temporal sequences. Second one is the trace conditioning. What is the trace? Trace is a short break between food and bell. First bell is presented, then food is given to the dog, but in between the bell and the food there is a short break. And that is called the trace conditioning. So B is first, A is second. This will be the answer. Then the simultaneous conditioning, that means that bell and food are presented together. This will be the answer. So answer will be C3 and D4. They are the temporal sequences in the Pavlovian study of classical conditioning. Let us move towards the next question. One psychologist developed a questionnaire on employee green behavior. He found the reliability coefficient with initial 50 items to be 0.75. Then he increased the length of this questionnaire to 70 items. What would be the probable value of new reliability coefficient? So here we are talking about the new reliability coefficient. What will be the new reliability coefficient? Let us see. If we are talking about the reliability coefficient, what we are seeing the correlation between item discrimination and the reliability. We are seeing the correlation between item discrimination and reliability. So here what we see if the number of items increases, this is positively correlated to the reliability coefficient. So whenever the number of items increases, what will we see? We will see that reliability coefficient will increase. Whenever it decreases, it will decrease. So what we see that as the number of items increases, so the reliability coefficient will show the greater number, or it will also increase. So in this question what we see that initially it was 50 items, now it becomes 70 items. So if we are seeing the number of items that are increasing, so the reliability coefficient will increase, and initial reliability coefficient is 0.75. So the new reliability coefficient will be greater than 0.75. it will be greater than 0.75. So answer will be the third one. Answer will be the third one. Let us move to the next question, and that is in the regression equation y is equal to a plus bx. A denotes y is equal to a plus bx. What the a denotes? So it is the equation. It is the equation, and what we see. So if we talk about the y, a, b and x, what are these things? So y is called the dependent variable or response. What is x? X is the independent variable. Or predictors, independent variable or predictors, or through the x we are explaining y. So it can also be called explanatory variables. Explanatory variables. B will be the slope of the line. Slope of regression line. And the question that A is the y-intercept on the x. It is the value of y when x is equal to 0. A is y-intercept. It is the value of y when x is equal to 0. So this will be the base value of the regression equation. It is the base value of the regression. Let us see the next question. Dr. Sinha, who developed a tool on pro-environmental behavior, collected further data from separate larger example and prepared a score for interpretation purpose. This is an example of norm. This is an example of norm. Age norm, grade norm, standard score norm, or percentile norm. Percentile. So what we see that Dr. Sinha has taken a data for a large sample and prepared a score. So what we see, when we prepare a sample and have the Z score for it, sigma is equal to 0, then plus 1 sigma, minus 1 sigma, minus 2 sigma, plus 2 sigma, plus 3 sigma, minus 3 sigma. We will see. So these are the Z score. What we see, Z score, whenever we are talking about the Z score, we will see the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that will give us the standard deviation. That will give us the standard deviation. Z score gives us the standard deviation. And we will call it a bell curve. Now we will convert it into a standard 10 score. So S10 stands for standard 10 score. It stands for standard 10 score. So when we talk about the standard 10 score, what we see? We will see that we will divide this score minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4 and plus 4. We will divide this into 10 divisions. We will divide it into 10 divisions, and what we will see? We will see that mid value will be 5.5 and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And middle score will be around 5.5. We have not exactly. So average is 5.5. Average is 5.5, and this is called the standard 10 score, where we are dividing the whole data into 10 segments. We are dividing the whole data into 10 segments. So these 10 segments, what we see that these 10 segments, they are representing the standard 10 score. So when we talk about the S10 score, it is an example of a standard score norm where we are dividing whole scores into 10 standard scores. We are dividing whole data into 10 standard scores. Similarly, the whole data can be divided into 9 standard scores, then it will call STAN9. It will call STAN9. Similarly, the whole data can be divided into 100 standard scores, and then it will call percentile. It can be divided into 4 standard scores, then it will call quartile. So these scores will be divided into various standard data. Next question is the sensory buffer is. What is the sensory buffer? What is the sensory buffer? So let us see the answer. When we are talking about the sensory buffer, what is it? So if we are talking about this thing, so what we are seeing two things. First thing, we are seeing the partial report paradigm. First we will see the partial report paradigm being studied by Sperling in 1960. Sperling has identified that there is certain sensory information which is not coming to the short term memory or working memory. Everything which is being registered by the senses is not reported to the short term memory. There is the partial report paradigm. There is a partial report paradigm. Everything which is being registered by the various sensory organs which is not being reported to the short term memory. So the NICE in 1967 called it as a iconic memory, which acts as a filter or buffer to filter various kind of information that they should being utilized or is being utilized for thinking, or they are not required for the thinking. So this iconic memory or the buffer or filter memory, it uses various kind of filters for our sensation. So this iconic memory, later on we will see the Tridents and Broadbents and Atkinson-Shiffrin are talking about the filtration theory. They are also talking about the filtration phenomena. So the sensory buffer is the iconic memory or the buffer for the various kind of sensory information, for the various kind of information that not have to go to the short term memory for thinking or for the working memory. Let us see our last question of the today's session. When an individual looks at one's past and describes the result of a struggle that was not exactly what one had aimed at, as what happened describes the result rest because it helped me gain something, the type of coping is. What happened as God's desire? What happened as God's desire is best because it helped me gain something. What is this kind of strategy? What is this kind of strategy? So what we see that the individual is attributing the result, is attributing his result to the God's desire because it helps me gain something. So there are three things. First one is the rationalization. Second is the cognitive attribution. In this statement what we will see, and this attribution is to the God. Result is attributed to the God. The result is attributed to the God. So the gain is, result is being attributed, gain is rationalization. Gain is rationalization, as gain has been given, therefore we will see that it is a positive rationalization. It is a positive rationalization. And for this positive rationalization, the cognitive attribution to the God is being used. The individual is attributing his result cognitively to the God because he is gaining something, therefore it is a positive rationalization, and through this they are overcoming or coping with their anxiety or fail or not getting whatever success they want. Not exactly what they want, but still they are getting something, not exactly what they want. Like if they are wanting to have the like if they are giving a certain examination and they want to have the top position, but still they are not getting the top position, but like in Olympics the individual is not getting the gold, but still they are getting the bronze. So so they will say that, oh, it's okay that I at least got the bronze also. So what is this kind of coping? What is this kind of coping? What is this kind of coping? So whenever we are seeing this kind of coping, is this spirituality? No. The spirituality is being used for the cognitive attribution. The individual is attributing to the God, but it is not the belief of God. It is not the belief of God. What we will see that it is a positive reappraisal. It is a positive reappraisal where the individual is cognitive, attributing everything to the God, and then coping with their anxiety or their problems. So in this question, what we see the cognitive reappraisal is there. Cognitively they are reappraising their situation and then attributing their situation to the God's will, and through this they are coping with their anxiety. While in escape avoidance or accepting responsibility is a internal attribution where we accept our qualities and our deficiencies, and through a evaluation we will attribute everything to our various kind of functioning. And then come the escape avoidance. It is what we see, it is a negative conditioning, negative reinforcement, where we avoid the situation altogether so that we can cope up with the various kind of situations, various kind of results. So answer will be the fourth one. So friends, this is all for the day, and I hope that you must have gained something or must have gained the value out of this class. If you have gained certain value from this class, please like the video and subscribe our channel. If you want to study this course, you can download the Psychology Masterclass app from the Google Play Store, which the description for the link has been given in the description. You can download. We'll meet in the next class. Till then, goodbye. Jai Hind. That's it. Okay.